Here in the U.S., President Trump is calling for the, quote, unconditional surrender of Iran. And just this morning, Trump took to Truth Social, writing, quote, today Iran will be hit very hard, under serious consideration for complete destruction and certain death because of Iran's bad behavior are areas and groups of people that were not considered for targeting up until this moment in time. Thank you for your attention to this matter, exclamation point. His post comes after NBC News reported that Trump has privately expressed serious interest in deploying American troops on the ground inside Iran.
Good evening. We begin tonight with a staggering financial cost. We begin tonight with a staggering human cost. The United States is spending $1 billion a day. That is $1 billion of your money. That money is being spent every single day. It is being spent to fund a massive war in Iran. It is a war that the American public completely rejects. Polling shows approval ratings sit at exactly 33%. It is a war that Congress refuses to officially debate. Congress refuses to officially authorize this conflict. And it is a war that the President of the United States treats with absolute indifference. The President simply shrugs and states that he expects some people will die.
Meanwhile, Congress has been unable to rein Trump in and unwilling to do so. This week, both the Republican-led House and Senate failed to adopt a war powers resolution to curtail the president's military actions. And so far, congressional sources have told MS Now that the war is costing the U.S. a staggering $1 billion a day. And American consumers are already feeling the impact at the gas pump. Since the start of the war, gas prices have jumped 14%, with the average price of unleaded gas hitting $3.41 a gallon.
We must start with the opening judgment. You have been told a specific story by the administration. You have been told a specific story by the defenders of this administration. You have been told that the actions taken by this administration represent peace through strength. You have been told that these military actions make the American people safer from foreign threats. You have been told that this administration is projecting incredible power on the global stage. You have been told that the administration holds independent control over its foreign policy. That is a lie. It is a complete lie. It is a dangerous, verifiable lie. It is a lie that covers up intense foreign manipulation.
And now he started a war in Iran on a timeline set not by the U.S. military, not even by himself, but by Bibi Netanyahu. So he's obviously manipulated by Bibi. So just dismiss these ideas that Trump is actually strong, peace through strength. Are you kidding me? You're getting manipulated by people all over the globe. He can't even make a decision on his own. That's how weak our commander-in-chief is. I guess it's no surprise that when he was asked to serve, he made up some sore foot so he didn't have to go.
It is a lie that covers up a complete absence of strategic military planning. It is a lie that attempts to hide the severe danger that American service members are being placed in tonight. We must define the exact nature of this lie. The core claim is that the president is acting with dominant strength. The core claim is that there is absolutely no plan to put American boots on the ground in Iran. We know the White House explicitly dismissed recent reports of ground troop deployments. The White House dismissed those reports as just assumptions from anonymous sources.
Also today, the Washington Post reporting the cancellation of an Army exercise is fueling speculation within the Defense Department that soldiers specializing in ground combat and a range of other missions may be sent to the Middle East. Days ago, Trump pointedly declining to rule out sending U.S. troops, quote, if necessary. Pete Hegseth also asked about it.
Are there currently any American boots on the ground in Iran?
No, but we're not going to go into the exercise of what we will or will not do.
We know the administration claims its relationship with foreign allies is strong and highly cooperative. The primary speaker of these claims is Donald Trump. The authority enforcing these claims is the White House communications apparatus. The authority enforcing these claims includes the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. They stand at podiums to project total control. They post online to project total control. The president posted on Truth Social that Iran will be hit very hard. He explicitly posted about complete destruction. He explicitly posted about certain death. He claimed this was all due to Iran's bad behavior. He ended his threatening message with an exclamation point. The administration presents a narrative of absolute military dominance. The administration presents a narrative of protective strength. But the public record proves otherwise. The verifiable facts prove otherwise. Let us examine the forensic evidence from the sources. NBC News reports that Donald Trump has privately expressed serious interest in deploying American troops on the ground inside Iran. That information is not an anonymous assumption. That information comes directly from two United States officials. It comes directly from a former United States official. It comes directly from another person with direct knowledge of those exact conversations. The administration publicly denies it. But look at the actions of the military. The Washington Post reports the sudden cancellation of an Army exercise. This cancellation is fueling intense speculation inside the Defense Department. That speculation suggests soldiers specializing in ground combat could be sent to the Middle East. When Pete Hegseth was asked directly about boots on the ground, he refused to give a straight answer. He stated the administration is not going to go into the exercise of what it will or will not do. That proves the administration is keeping the door open for ground troops. It proves the White House denial is completely hollow. Look at the financial forensic evidence. Congressional sources confirm this war is costing the United States $1 billion every single day. For context, the war in Afghanistan costs $300 million a day. This current conflict costs more than 3 times as much as the war in Afghanistan. The financial impact is already hitting the American consumer. Since the start of this war, gas prices have jumped 14%. The average price of unleaded gas recently reached $3.41 a gallon. Yesterday, the February jobs numbers were released. 92,000 jobs were lost. The unemployment rate ticked up to 4.4%. The president completely dismissed the gas price spikes. He called it a short-term thing.
Particularly over the last week, the president, when asked about all this, said something like, well, you know, this is just, when it comes to gas, this is just a short-term thing, and another instance saying, they go up, they go up. That's me paraphrasing. It seems to me that the way the president goes about his foreign policy is a reflection of the way he goes about his domestic policy, his economic policy.
Yeah, well, it's almost like his pals don't care about gas prices, and I guess if you're just flying around
He stated prices just go up. This proves a complete disconnect from the economic reality facing the American people. Look at the human cost evidence. Iranian state media reports strikes near Mehravad International Airport. Lebanon's health ministry reports that Israeli strikes on the town of Nabishit left 41 dead. They report 40 others were wounded. They report 3 Lebanese troops were killed. Some critics claim that military sites targeted have included schools. Some critics claim that military sites targeted have included hospitals. The president was asked by Time magazine if Americans should be worried about retaliatory attacks at home. His response was fully documented. He simply said, I guess. He stated we plan for it. He stated we expect some things. He stated that some people will die when you go to war. He repeated that exact phrase, some people will die. This proves he expects American casualties. Look at the geopolitical evidence. The Washington Post reports that Russia is actively helping Iran. Russia is providing Iran with intelligence to target United States forces. This targeting information includes the exact locations of American warships in the Middle East. It includes the exact locations of American aircraft in the Middle East. While Russia is trying to help kill American troops, Donald Trump is relaxing sanctions on Russia. Furthermore, the New York Times reports that Trump is now calling for Iran's unconditional surrender. This represents a massive shift in stated military goals. It proves this could portend a much longer conflict. It proves this could portend a much deadlier conflict. We must apply a power and control analysis to each piece of this evidence. The administration projects an image of ultimate power. The reality is ultimate submission. The reality is complete manipulation by foreign actors. Donald Trump does not hold the power in these global relationships. The Wall Street Journal reports that Senator Lindsey Graham personally lobbied Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The reporting shows Graham actively coached Netanyahu on how to get Trump to take action. Netanyahu then showed Trump specific intelligence. That specific intelligence persuaded Trump to side with Israel. It persuaded him to join them in going to war. This shows Trump starts wars due to peer pressure. He starts wars on a timeline set by Benjamin Netanyahu. That is a total surrender of executive control to an allied nation. Look at his relationship with Russia. Vladimir Putin holds the strategic power. Russia is actively providing targeting information to Iran to hit American forces. A president in control would punish Russia for targeting American troops. Donald Trump did the exact opposite. He relaxed sanctions on Russia. He gave another massive favor to Vladimir Putin. This proves he is being manipulated by Putin. This conflict ties the United States down in the Middle East. The United States does not have the munitions to support Ukraine. The United States cannot maintain the necessary posture in the Pacific to prevent a war with China. Xi Jinping is saying this will be great if America uses all its missiles in the Middle East. Russia is celebrating that they get to target American troops. Trump has surrendered control of the global board to foreign adversaries. Look at his relationship with domestic safety. He was asked about direct threats to the homeland. We know Iran has specifically targeted former administration officials. Iran has specifically targeted former official John Bolton. Iran has specifically targeted former chairman Mark Milley. Donald Trump used his executive power to take away their protection. Based on unclassified facts, Trump is directly inviting attacks from Iran against American civilians. He has completely surrendered the basic executive duty to protect the country. We move to the strongest defense argument. The defenders of this administration will rely on a historical argument. Republican lawmakers will make this argument. Some Democratic lawmakers will also make this argument. They will argue that there are a lot of both Democratic and Republican presidents who have taken the nation to war without congressional approval. They argue that unilateral executive military action is a long-established precedent. They point to past interventions as legal justification for the current strikes in Iran. They argue that the commander-in-chief has the inherent authority to act defensively. They argue he does not need to wait for the House and the Senate to formally debate the issue. We must dismantle that defense using the law and the sources. The defense is entirely false. Congressman Seth Moulton stated clearly that past actions without congressional approval were never on this massive scale. Unilateral actions were only ever legally done in the face of an imminent threat. There is absolutely no imminent threat to the United States in this situation. Senator Marco Rubio admitted that the imminent threat was actually from Israel. Israel was going to strike, meaning Trump was manipulated by an ally. The administration cannot legally claim self-defense when the timeline was dictated by another nation. Furthermore, the president himself has stated from day one that this is a war. It is not a limited military strike. It is a massive regional war costing $1 billion a day. The precedent of limited tactical strikes does not cover the unconditional surrender of another sovereign nation. First, he goes into Venezuela, then Iran, and now he threatens Cuba. He threatens Greenland. He threatens Canada. The defense completely fails on the facts. The defense completely fails on the historical record. We must provide a legal education in plain English. The United States Constitution is very clear about the power to declare war. The Constitution places that precise power solely in the hands of the legislative branch. It places that power strictly in Congress. The Constitution clearly states that Congress decides whether the nation goes to war. The founders wanted the representatives of the people to debate the issue. They wanted this because those representatives reflect the views of the American people. The War Powers Resolution exists to actively curtail a president's unilateral military actions. It exists to force a strict constitutional timeline on the executive branch. This week, both the Republican-led House and the Senate utterly failed to adopt a War Powers Resolution. They had the legal tool. They refused to use it. A president is absolutely not allowed to unilaterally declare war without an imminent threat. When the executive commits massive amounts of the United States military in the face of no imminent threat, it is a direct violation of the constitutional separation of powers. The executive branch is illegally seizing power that belongs to the legislative branch. The legislative branch is willfully handing that power over. A war absolutely requires public debate. A war absolutely requires a formal vote. The law requires representatives to put their names on a vote. It requires this because young Americans are going to lose their lives as a result of this action. American civilians could lose their lives as a result of this action. By refusing to follow this explicit constitutional mandate, the administration and Congress are operating entirely outside the boundaries of lawful democratic governance. We must render a professional judgment on responsibility and fitness. This administration is completely unfit for command. Donald Trump is completely unfit to serve as commander-in-chief. He operates with a stunning lack of respect for the men and women in uniform. He dodged the draft. He made up a sore foot to avoid going to Vietnam. He claimed to have bone spurs. He sent someone else to take his place in a war zone. He explicitly called American hero John McCain a loser for getting captured. He absolutely does not understand sacrifice. When asked about impending casualties, he simply shrugged his shoulders. He callously said he guesses some people will die. Some people believe he appoints incompetent people because he is fundamentally incompetent himself. The unfitness extends directly to his cabinet. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is fundamentally unfit to lead the Department of Defense. He has absolutely no respect for troops killed in action. He recently held a press conference where he completely dismissed questions about 6 brave American heroes. His comments were so deeply striking that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs had to get up immediately after him. The chairman had to memorialize those American heroes. Hegseth uses imagery of video games and movies to make memes out of a very serious regional conflict. He treats war exactly like a game. Behind closed doors, Republicans cannot wait to get rid of him. They actively debate whether he should be fired first. Some critics say he only got the job because he ignores war crimes. In the middle of this massive war, Trump fired the head of Homeland Security. He replaced him with someone who has absolutely no military background. He replaced him with someone who has absolutely no law enforcement background. This is gross incompetence. Officials refuse to admit bad decisions and just keep doubling down. He once claimed to care about Iranian protesters, but is now dropping bombs on them. They have absolutely no respect for the gravity of their decisions. They are entirely unfit. We do not rely on opinion. We stack our case on expert authority with immaculate credentials. We rely strictly on Congressman Seth Moulton. He is a Democrat from Massachusetts. He is a member of the House Armed Services Committee. He is a Marine Corps combat veteran. He served 4 separate tours in the Iraq War. He deeply understands combat. He deeply understands the constitutional duty of Congress. We rely strictly on the authority of Marine General John Kelly. General Kelly is a combat veteran. He served directly as Donald Trump's own first chief of staff. General Kelly documented that Donald Trump directly called American troops losers for signing up. General Kelly documented that Trump directly called American troops suckers for getting killed. We rely strictly on the authority of Marine General James Mattis. General Mattis was the commanding general of the 1st Marine Division. He later served directly as the Secretary of Defense under Donald Trump. General Mattis lived by the exact motto of the 1st Marine Division. That motto states, "No better friend, no worse enemy than a United States Marine." He deeply understands that this administration has entirely destroyed trust with our closest allies. We rely strictly on the authority of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The chairman serves as the highest-ranking military officer in the country. The chairman had to physically step in to memorialize troops because the Secretary of Defense explicitly refused to do so. Senior officials in the Pentagon are deeply concerned. The General Officer Corps is deeply concerned. They are explicitly telling us this war is a disaster. We must clearly address institutional accountability. The institutions strictly designed to check this executive have completely failed. The United States Congress has utterly failed the American people. The Republican-led House has failed. The Senate has failed. They have shown a total lack of courage. They have completely refused to do the right thing. They have completely refused to uphold our Constitution. They are completely complicit with this administration. They are entirely complicit with the idea that the executive can commit massive amounts of the military without a formal vote. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is actively presiding over this failure. Congressman Moulton stated Johnson will go down in history as the absolute weakest speaker in America. Some critics rightfully refer to him as the squeaker of the House. But the institutional failure is also bipartisan. Some Democrats also completely refuse to stand up for the Constitution. They refuse to tell the president he is absolutely not allowed to unilaterally declare war. Behind closed doors, Republicans on the Armed Services Committee explicitly admit Pete Hegseth is a massive disaster. They state they want him out immediately. They explicitly state if a Democrat were doing this, they would raise bloody hell. But in public, they are completely cowed by Donald Trump. They have absolutely no courage to speak in public. They complain in private and they fully submit in public. They will have to explain this massive institutional failure to their children and their grandkids. The institution of Congress was strictly built to stop a runaway executive. Instead, it has completely surrendered. We conclude strictly with the procedural consequences only. There is absolutely no hope here. There is absolutely no hype. The war will continue indefinitely. The United States military is currently spending $1 billion a day. That massive spending will totally drain domestic resources. There will be absolutely no money for schools. There will be absolutely no money for infrastructure. There will be absolutely no money for universal health care. There will be absolutely no money for retirement. $1 billion a day perfectly explains why there is no free health care. It explains why there is no free education. It explains why there is no paid leave. It explains why there is no free preschool. Citizens should strictly remember this when politicians say the country cannot afford Social Security. The gas prices will continue to remain heavily elevated. The average working family will continue to explicitly turn down their thermostats because they absolutely cannot afford their heating bills. American allies will actively continue to withhold critical intelligence. This procedure will leave American citizens and service members completely blind to incoming threats. The geopolitical relationship with Russia and Iran will strictly tighten. Russia will absolutely continue to use American intelligence to precisely target American warships and aircraft in the Middle East. The military posture in the Pacific will permanently remain weakened. China will strictly operate with far less deterrence. The procedural cancellation of Army exercises strongly indicates the logistical preparations for a massive ground war will proceed. Polling heavily indicates public support for this war strictly sits at 33%. That exact number represents the absolute lowest public support for a modern military conflict. The strict procedural reality is a heavily prolonged, completely unfunded, highly unpopular regional war. It is directly managed by a manipulated executive. It is completely unchecked by a totally complicit legislature. More American lives will be completely lost. The national treasury will be entirely drained. The constitutional order will indefinitely remain broken. That is the final procedural reality.